Morning, guys and girls. Do you guys like books? Awesome. I do too. I want to teach you guys about how I look for books and how I resell books and how I possibly just collect books. There's a lot to this, so let's get to it. If you guys are interested, stick around because I think you're going to learn something. And good morning, everybody. Welcome to TED Talks. I am Ted Davies. I am an artist, author, collector, broadcaster. I don't know. There's a lot of things. I've been called worse. So I'm welcome. And I want you guys to understand, if you are a collector or an artist or a writer or an author, you're in the right place because this is the channel that I want you guys to be part of. I want you guys to enjoy and I want to hear your stories. So I want to welcome everybody in the comments. I've been following you guys. People have been in the queue for a little bit of time here. Very funny comments. So you guys, please continue on. Don't let me interrupt. But hopefully you guys can bring something to this with questions and what have you. We are part of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. We're a group of creatives that help creatives build their business. So check out everything that we're doing on Facebook. We've got the channel Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Check that out on Facebook. Check out everything that's going on in the industry with what we're doing because we've got, I think it's 7 days a week. We've got entertainment, education. We teach you everything from how to, mix a drink to write a book. So check out everything that we're doing there with Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Very, very proud affiliates with them. Our sponsor today is Cashman's Comics in Bay City, Michigan. John Cashman runs that shop, and it's great. He's been there 25 years. Say hello to Petey the dog when you're there. Petey's the best guard dog in the world. You're going to love him. If you're a collector, whether you're a novice or a seasoned collector like myself, check out everything that John has because he's an amazing person because he'll find exactly what you are looking for when it comes to comic books and graphic novels and even I think collecting figures and everything else. So check out what he's doing. Cashmanscomics.com. We're going to leave that stamp of Cashman's there the whole show. So make sure that you check it out and follow them on Facebook as well. All right. So we always are doing, I shouldn't say that. We're doing a new thing now with TED Talks, and it's called Ted's Library. And every week I bring in a book that I really am liking the series or I like the author. And this person really, I really think the world of, and it's a person that is a creator, I don't even know where to begin. A Dastardly Dingo. If you guys are following them on YouTube, you should. They are awesome. Let me bring up a split screen here, and we'll talk a little bit about this. Brian Rodman is the gentleman that I'm talking about, the creator of Memoirs of an Angel and the Nebulizer. He is, I think, one of the most up-and-coming creators that indie comics has. The thing I really like about Brian, before we start into all these antiquated book things that we're going to learn today, the thing I like about Brian Rodman is he's got faith. His faith is really important to him, but he does not force feed you anything. And I respect that a lot. In today's world, I think it's very easy to get lost in your perspective, and it's your only perspective. Brian doesn't do that. Brian tells you how it is. He's got principles, and I can totally appreciate that and respect it. And his stories have a lot of thought. They're thought provoking. They are not cheesy. The art's excellent. And it's from the heart. The Nebulizer that he put together, this comic, The Nebulizer. If you don't know Brian, he suffers from somewhat severe asthma, and he is a a person that this character was formed because of the things that he's gone through in his life. And I think that it's powerful for kids to really be able to get into comics with stories like this that they might be going through as well. Um, so check out everything Brian Rodman's doing. I don't have the description or his link on the description. If you guys in the chat can do that, please put it in the comments. If not, I will do it at the end of the show. But check out everything that Brian Rodman's doing. He's just a really great talent. I really, really respect him a lot. Okay, let me zoom out of this. Hold on one second. Okay, back to me. Thanks guys for stopping in. I'm reading some of the comments here, so just bear with me. Some of the I do have good taste in hats. Thank you, Glenn. I'll forgive that. I try to anyway. Please like and share this before we get started. That would be really, really helpful for me and for the channel. So when I first started getting into books, the first book I ever read, I forget the name of it, but my mom, I got home from first grade and I didn't want to read. I was really against reading. I don't know why. I was just being a brat. And yeah, right. Go figure, right? And we ended up, it was a story about an elf that uh, he could read, but he can only read one side of the page of the book. So every page, the back of the page was blank. Really weird story. I don't know why I remember it, but um, after a long discussion about how I didn't want to write in that, my mom said, "Okay, if you're not gonna or learn how to read, not write, if you're not gonna read, then I'm gonna send you off to boarding school." So I decided to read. So I started getting into comic books then, and subsequently, I ended up getting into books, and whether it's paperback or hardback or whatever, kids' books, and it started this huge passion of mine reading. Um, it it is an addiction. It's and it's something that I think unless you're a reader, unless you are part of this, you don't get it. My passion has grown into a library, a collection of books that are well over 100 years old, some of them. But I've pieced them together through garage sales and through antique stores and online sales through Abe Books and eBay and on, secondhand bookstores. Uh, and I've built this collection, and some of them I've sold off. A lot of them I keep. But I'm gonna try to teach you today what to look for, what to look at. Let me talk to you about what one of the books, what books I really like. First off, it's not always about getting the first editions. It's not always, getting the most perfect Don Quixote ever made 300 years ago. All hand stitch. It's not about that. It's about what makes you happy, and you're a steward for these things. Like in life, we can't take it with us. So you're a steward, whether you sell them off in your lifetime or you leave them to somebody in a will. You're being a steward for these products. Let me show you first off. I'll show you one of the books that really I'm really proud of that I have, because it's one of these ones that not everybody even knows it exists. So you'll notice that a couple of the books that I've moved some of the books off my shelf actually. So you're going to be seeing some of those too today. One of the books today, and go ahead, guys, if you have any questions on things, let me know. I'll bring this up. This one here, I'm going to bring this up full screen. Frank Lloyd Wright, for you guys that don't know, was one of I think, the greatest American architect that ever lived. His organic architecture is unprecedented. Falling Water, the Guggenheim Museum. I mean, it's just, it goes on and on. The list is incredible. This book I actually found a few years ago. And it's the story, not necessarily the story of this book, but it's the story of who owned this book. That is a huge thing. And a lot of the times I can't, and you'll find this if you collect books, you don't know who owned them. You might go to an estate sale and it might be somebody that, retired school teacher, something like that. Frank Lloyd Wright was a huge part of my growing up as an architecture school. Even before that, my dad was My dad was going to go to architecture school, never did. Ended up as a car designer. But for me, Frank Lloyd Wright was, he's a Welsh descendant. My dad was from Wales, so it's very, very much instilled in my design elements. Everything I've done organically in architecture has been because of Frank Lloyd Wright. So this book was written right before his death in the 1950s, 57, I think. And this book pretty much culminates his philosophy, his beliefs, and his architecture. There's a lot of different things in this book that talk about his speeches and what he went through in his life. It's a really impactful book. So a few years ago, I was on Abe Books, abebooks.com, and I was looking through just for different Usonian books, which is a term that Frank Lloyd Wright used for smaller architecture, ranch homes, um, the the Americana ranch suburban home, Usonian architecture. And anyway, I ended up finding this book, and the gentleman that owned this book, the dealer, told me a story about it. And here in Michigan, we've got a huge bridge, a couple huge bridges, but one of them is in mid Michigan called the Zilwaukee Bridge. And the Zilwaukee Bridge it spans over the Saginaw River, and it was built that on I-75 so that you cross over the river without having to wait for the toll bridge and all this other stuff, because it took forever for people to get up north. Huge, huge, huge thing for people that traveled up north, have homes up north in Michigan. And the problem that they were having was the cement, the concrete wasn't, there was too much flexing going on, and the concrete was just falling off the bridge, literally. And this thing probably is 150 feet up in the air. It's pretty epic. So, and they had a hell of a time with it. They got the thing built, and had things were falling off. They had to change the roads the way it was. They had to reroute roads because this thing was not doable. The concrete was garbage. So there was a engineer. There was a woman, and she ended up recalibrating the concrete with, I don't know the synthetic mixture that she used with aggregates and everything, but she ended up coming up with a composite that worked and is used today still with the Zilwaukee. She passed away, and this book was in her library. So with the history of that, and knowing that the gentleman that owned this book went to her estate sale and actually picked this up, it's a pretty awesome thing for me to it's just Michigan history and everything else. But the book's been out of print for decades, and I don't even know if I've had a hard time finding this particular one in a hardback. So needless to say, it's a story behind the stories that are behind the books that it's really important to me. So keep that in mind when you're looking. You're not always going to have the opportunity to learn about the history of the book, who owned it, but definitely something I would definitely recommend for you guys to this is part of the collecting. All right, so let me get to it here. Okay. Let me see. I'm just reading the comments real quick. Thanks for liking and sharing this out too, guys. Appreciate it. Glenn says, my oldest book is Abraham Lincoln by John Drinkwater, 1922. That's cool. 100 years. Yeah, that's excellent, man. Good deal. And that's, I look for, there's a couple different things I look for in books. Age, obviously first editions. If you want to look for that, you can, if they're signed or not. This one recently I've got a series of books that I found last weekend that I'm going to show you, but these, I'm giving you an idea just so that you know what I look for. Gulliver's Travel, I look for a term that is very, usually the titles that are, mainstays. You go through Tom Sawyer or, anything like that, Huck Finn, Charles Dickens, that anything like that. So David Copperfield, that kind of thing. So with it though, it's rare that you find the dust jackets on a lot of these, and this is a big key to collecting. When you look for dust jackets first and see the quality of them, then you see the interiors of the book. I usually will take these dust covers off and put them in plastic in archival plastic, and then I keep them. I don't keep them on the shelf together. But you know, the biggest thing about these books, this one was actually created in 1940s. Um, the biggest thing about these books is the typesetting. Whenever you look at books, I think prior to 1960, I don't know what it was, 63, probably 64, they were all typeset. They were actually lead um, typeset pieces that were made, and each panel, each page had to be laid out manually, letter by letter. It's an incredible feat. I would suggest you go to YouTube and look it up on how books were made back prior to 1960. Incredible, incredible amount of effort that went into this. Um, it's just incredible when you really think about the time that it took to get these books to the point to even be able to be marketed. So when I was saying this one here, these are pretty easily found. Um, boys and girls books were really big back in the 50s, 40s. Goldsmith Publishing, always look for the publisher because you might not find the dates. The date, even on this, I think I had to look it up online because it wasn't stated here. You're usually going to have a title page with the publishing information. And even this one, it'll say manufactured in the United States of America as well on a lot of these. Some of them will say France, Mexico. They might still be in different, they might be in the same language, but just I'm just going over a general way of looking at these things. Some of them will not have first edition and will not have printing dates. So you have to get online. Thank God we've got Google search. But with Gulliver's Travels and that, these type of books will go up in value exponentially. This one I've only owned for 6 months. It's already gone up, I think, 3 times what I paid for it. So incredible. And as every day it goes by, the more rare they get. These things, fall away. People, they trash them. They throw them in the garbage. They don't know what they have. This is Americana, and this is literature. This is your stewardship. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. So let me put this over here. I'm a big collector of anything James Bond. Ian Fleming. This is one of the coolest books. One of the coolest books that I've had on here, or that I have got in the collection. I found this at a garage sale, and it's it's a what they call a book club edition. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Um, Look for these type of things too. A lot of people write these book club editions off, but they're becoming more rare. They don't, they're not the first printing of the book. They're not, signed by the author usually. But these things were sent in the mail, and to people, and they become very rare. I'm going to show you another couple of them here in a minute. Octopussy, great story. And again, it's not the original book, but the way that it's done, it's in the original format. So really look for these type of books. You're going to see the New American Library series. And again, you can go through this at your leisure, really, if you're looking into different things for collecting. I'm not going to get into all of it, but again, printed in the United States of America. You're going to see a lot of these, the original copyrights of when they were first written, and it'll give you, how many versions are produced from this particular book. Really, really cool. This type of stuff is why I enjoy collecting, because you've got the dust jacket, you've got it printed in the U.S. It's a limited edition book club edition, which is like I said, even more rare, because people, they didn't survive. A lot of the kids were reading them and they threw them out or whatever. Very cool. I love anything that deals with. My dad was a big fan of James Bond. That's why I'm such a big fan of it too. But very, very cool. Try to find the dust jackets if you can. And of course, they've got the man on the back there, Ian. So yeah, very, very cool. Love that book. All right, so these ones I found, this is really cool. The next ones that I'm bringing up that I want you guys to keep a lookout for right now for making, making an investment. These ones I found at a book, literally they're at the market where Chris and I go on Saturdays during the spring and the summer for her business. And they have every so often they have a book sale, and it's, to raise funds for a church or whatever. Um, these ones were, this is so cool. I found these. I took a break. I said, Chris, I'm going to go over and look at the books because she knows I'm a bibliophile. It's crazy. I go over there and look at books. I mean, it's an addiction. It really is. So I found this one first. So, and I'm never liked the movie Pet Sematary. I hated that movie. Ugh, it's creepy. The first one, not the second one. This one is really interesting. Dust Jacket. So I immediately I looked at it. I'm like, no way is that a first edition. No way. So I looked through it and I'm like, okay, it looks really great. It doesn't even look like it's been read that much. So I opened it up, and again, more rare than the ones that were produced on uh first editions, in that book club edition, another book club edition. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of cool, because I think that these are going to be worth a lot of money in the future. I think that this is going to be, again, these were mailed in. These are very limited production quantity, and a lot of them didn't survive. So same type of book that you would get with the other one that you would get off the shelf. But this one's in just impeccable shape. I don't even think it was ever read. Just incredible. Copyright 1983. All rights reserved, printed in the U.S. You're looking for that again because you don't want to have you don't want to have some fake. But just what a find. I couldn't believe it when I found it. So keep in mind with these book editions, I really think that these are going to be shooting up in price in the future. It might take 10, 20 years, but these will be, good morning, Will. These will be definitely worth looking into. Check out anything like Stephen King. Look for the ones that are obviously titles that you're going to know. Yeah, so I was completely geeked about this. And these are inside cardboard boxes, literally exposed to the sun. They were, I mean, they didn't know what they had in front of them. Just an incredible find. But what was really cool is I found Cujo as well, in the same thing. So that was pretty cool. So we ended up again, this one probably from the same collector, book club edition, again, right there, comes with the dust jacket. So keep in mind, make sure that you're trying to find these dust jackets. This thing's impeccable. Just incredible. 1983 again, or I think this is 83. This might be before then. Let me see what I've got here. But I'm trying to give you guys an overview. We only have like an hour or a few, just to talk, but I want to make sure that, 81. So it's basically the same book, but it's in limited production, with it being the book club edition. And, like I said, I think that these are going to be worth a lot of money in the future. And you're going to have some, I had some tear on this and that kind of thing. That's part of it. This is why I put these in protective archival plastic. Just for my own, my own sake. I'm not overkill with it, but because I enjoy books, and I know when people come to the cottage and that, they're more than able to, they can read whatever they want. They can take whatever off the shelf and read it and enjoy it, except my comic books. I'm kind of funny about that. But as far as the books go, though, absolutely. My library is open to my guests here. Absolutely. Okay, so let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm going to move on with a couple other things. One of the things I do look for, let me bring this up real quick. One of the things I do look for is collections of books that were, I like the mail order books that were brought, like you have to order them and like a subscription, kind of like Time Life books, but way back, like 100 years ago. They would have these books that were printed, and every month or so you'd get a new book. And that's what I look for. Because a lot of these aren't complete, and when you're reselling them, people are looking for bits and pieces to fill their collection. And if these runs of books don't have a completion to them, and you can find one or two that are key books that they need to complete their collection, sky's the limit on the price. So keep that in mind when you're reselling. I look for that. I look for breakups of different book series, and I'll show you that in a second. I'm going to switch back over, but I just don't want you to, you're looking at the at the background here, and you're not seeing me. So give me maybe that's better. I don't know. Give me 1 second, and I'm going to grab these other books. Now, the collection I'm going to show you here is a series that was, I believe these were from 1922, I think. 1920 or 1922. And these are a collection. You're going to notice that you can't always read the titles here. But these ones, and I'm still working on that because I'm cleaning a lot of these too. I'm actually getting them to the point where they're not I wouldn't say restored because I'm not technically a restorer, but I can clean them to where the titles are going to be. This will be bright, and they'll be beautiful when I'm done. But this particular one is all Mark Twain. This collection, I think it was actually I want to say 1920 or 1912. I have to double check that. I think it's 1920. Yeah, that's right. And then the other ones I'm going to show you are 1912. These ones here in the Mark Twain series are very unique because, again, they're embossed. They have a beautiful set. Let's see which one we have here. This is the, let me get one that we know, that everybody knows. Hold on a second so I can show you exactly what I'm working towards here. Okay, so The Adventures of Huck Finn. Okay, so you can see that this title is a little bit worn down. I couldn't really read it, but once I clean it, you'll be able to read it because it's got the gold treatment on it. The embossments, though, I mean the engravings, just phenomenal. Now this one too, the same thing. There's no age, there's no dates on this, so it's really hard. So you'll know that you're probably pre-19, well, before. So let's say World War II. That's probably where you'll see dates on books. Sometimes they're before them, but I mean the illustrations are just incredible. And this is the book series that I like because they, like I said, it took time for them to get mailed out, delivered. You read one book at a time. They talk about it's just a great way to explore. I think the adaptions and everything else with Mark Twain are great, but to get the older ones, I think it's just, yeah, there's something about it. And I know I'm addicting I'm addicted to these, but give me a second here. But the engravings and the all these different yeah, I mean the illustrations are just awesome. And you're going to want to look for that. You're going to want to look for the spines to make sure that they're not pulled through. You're going to look at the end pages to see if they're damaged. Are they signed? Are they got crayon all over them or marker? I mean, that's impeccable. That's a beautiful book. Beautiful book. And you want to look for the major titles. The Adventures of Huck Finn. I mean, that's a classic. Again, these books were all hand typeset. Incredible amount of work. You really don't realize it. And so if you go to YouTube and check it out, you'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe that's how they used to do this. The way that the end pages are, though, the way that the glue is here on these edges, look to see how everything is formatted. You can see a little bit of damage there, but that's part of it. That's part of the character of all of it. But in these series, they have, I don't know, 30, I think, and I've got 12 of them here in all, I think. And they've got some major, they've got a little bit of cleanup to do, but I've already had people request, which ones I've got because I've had this one for 2 years, I think. And the prices they've shot up because people want to start collecting. I don't know why, but you've really got to think about if you want to get rid of them or not. I mean, I've gotten to the point where, you fall in love with the books and you just don't want to let them go. So, but there's cleaning solutions. There's things that you can get that I actually have gone in and I've actually cleaned a lot of these up. You want to keep them out of the sun. I mean, there's a lot of things I can go through on all that upkeep and what you want to do. The Yankee, I mean, this is just great. The Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, one of my favorites. But look at the illustrations. I mean, it's just, I just adore it. I just absolutely, I look for very specific books. And what's nice about when you go to small towns like where we're at, when people have the estate sales and that people have moved on and their estate sales are available and everything. The smaller towns, a lot of people don't realize what they've got, and they are here for a lot less than you would get in a major city. And like I said, if you're into the resale market, then that's great. This is what you do. You go in, you buy low, and then I'm notorious about knowing my prices before I even go in there. But last week, I've been looking at this grouping of groupings of this book for about a year, and this is the one I kind of want to really to show you. I'll show it to you here. Let me get these up here. So some of these books you're going to recognize in a minute. These ones here were we've got quite a few local antique shops here, and it's kind of become a family tradition now. My sister-in-law come up, and my brother, they come up every year. Excuse me, to get a drink. And we'll go to several different stores. So one of our neighbors owns one of the best antique stores in Michigan. They're phenomenal. Her book selections and just a wide variety of different things in that place. But this particular one, this antique store that we went to, had a series of Charles Dickens, and I'm a big fan of that. But they were there a year ago, and nobody bought them. They were still there, and I'm like, okay. And this isn't the complete set. This one here, these ones, they come with the red. They're again, I'm going to clean them. I haven't had time to get all that done yet, but they come with a red standard. They're not leather. They're just a standard board with fabric. They come with the bookmark strands in them as well. Again, look for that. If you're looking at these type of books, make sure that they've got the markers in them. Hold on, let me show you. Make sure that they've got this intact. These are always important. The engravings in this book are incredible. For what these are, in 1912, the amount of work that went into creating these books, and this was a series of Dickens books. I mean, these are throughout just incredible. Now, again, the spines have been stretched a bit. This was a well-read book, and there's some water damage. Okay, big deal. I don't really care about that too much. Bleak House is kind of but you can see how the glue pulled away from this. I mean, this is part of ownership. I mean, these are over 100 years old. So this survived the Spanish flu. I mean, this is now one of the things you want to look at too. You're going to get people that have signed books on this too. I kind of dig this in some regards. I've got one book here. I think I'll have to look at. That's the one I showed at the beginning of the intro before we started the intro. I'll show it to you in a second, the inscription. This one's D.E. Oliver from Toronto. So I don't know who that is, but it's always, for me, it's fun to look up now since we've got the internet and everything, look up people, obituaries, whatever, or see who these people were. I mean, maybe you can find out a lot of different things about them, their married history and their families, whatever. Very interesting. But I mean, it's just the whole experience of the books. The reason why I wanted these books is because it's a series that was offered. And Glenn, you might want to check this out too. These were printed in Europe, in the UK, and in Scotland. London and Scotland, and they were a very limited series. but they made it here to the States. So, but they made it through Canada usually. And when you're looking at these books, they're worn. Some of them are really worn. Some of them aren't. Some of them are just gorgeous. But I always try to find out a little bit more about the owners if I can. Now, again, some of these have damage to them, but you can straighten them out. You can get them on a press and get them back to where they were pretty darn close to where they were new. But I mean, they're over 100 years old, so just take it for what it is. I always check out the prices before once I see them on the shelf, and I knew this one, the value of these before I went in. I was hoping that it was still there because I hadn't been in that shop in well over a year. Threw my mask on, went in, so we're all safe in that. But these books were just some of these Charles Dickens stories I don't even know about. Martin Chuzzlewit, I don't know anything about that one, but I'm gonna do more research on it. Little Dorrit, I don't know anything about this one either, but I checked out. I mean, the spines are not in bad shape. This page has rip in it. This is so the title page has got a rip, a tear in it. So these type of things you got to be aware of if you're looking for resale. I wasn't looking for this one for resale. I was looking at more so to read and then see what else. The illustrations. What what are people looking for with these as far as value? Because you're on a limited time in there sometimes, and a lot of the salespeople don't know you know a lot of them don't know what they've got. So the one I was looking for is this one. I'll show you this one in a second. Yeah, this one here. I don't know if you guys can read that. The old Curiosity Shop. That was one of them I was looking for, and that was great. But like this one, Dombey and Son by Charles Dickens. I don't know anything about that one. I don't know if you guys do, if you've ever read it, but it wasn't the part that I was concerned about because I knew I could, if I end up selling these, I could sell these to collectors that are looking for to complete their set. But the ones I was looking for were David Copperfield, big one. That was the one I really wanted, and it wasn't part of the original series. And the old Curiosity Shop. Those two, and you can see they've got a different binding on the sides. This is a different. They kind of. It's still by Collins. It's still by the publisher, but it's a different run. So, and I've checked that out. But David Copperfield, and on its own, and not an original, but an older series, David Copperfield from the early 1900s, with illustrations, is in good shape. I mean, they're definitely something to keep and just wait because eventually it'll be worth X amount. But illustrations are nice. They're not anything super fancy. There's no gold lettering or anything on it or anything, but it's just a nice, good, solid book. I like the fact that they've got the illustrations in it because a lot of these books don't, and it really changes it. It does. It changes the dynamic of how you read. But in that, try to look for the watermarks. See if there's any water staining, any mold. Obviously, you don't want to bring that into your house if you don't want to. But let's see what else there was. And you can check a lot of this online. A lot of the stuff's documented, so I didn't even know that these were from 1912. I knew that they were from early 1900s, but I didn't know. That's part of the investigating. It's part of the enjoyment of finding old books. And you might just want to flip these. You might just want to resell them, and that's fine too. I like to collect them. I like to find out more about them because I really you become an expert in them. And next time when you go to buy, or when you shop. Now I look. I wasn't one to go to garage sales before, and Christine got me involved in it. And I really look for. I go to garage sales and I look for different collections of books, and I really I think that there's a wealth out there for you to learn, and it's it's the hunt, right? You try to find it and try to um, get something that nobody else has, right? But I mean the end papers are good. Everything seems really solid with this. Yeah, and David Copperfield, you can't go wrong. Now this one doesn't have the bookmark, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't have the book tie to it because it is a different one. This is Collins, though. You'll notice that on these books too, you'll try to find out. Okay, so you got the title, David Copperfield, Charles Dickens, and then Collins is the publisher. You'll usually find the publishers on the bottom on these older books. They might not have it until you open up, obviously, to the open page, and then it'll say Collins Clear Type Press. That's different than Collins and Phillips or whoever it was back then, London and Glasgow. So it tells you these can all be typed in on your search engine, and then really see what what the values of these books are, and they're wide variety. Some guys, some of these guys on eBay want way too much. They're inflating the market big time. But then you find ones that are legit. Maybe you'll find something on Etsy, or you'll find something on Facebook. Facebook Marketplace has been great to check things out like that. But and what I do too is I'll end up selling these independently. If I'll break up the collection usually, because a lot of people need the odds and ends of these books, the ones that aren't really the curiosity shop, and that they probably have, but they don't have the other ones. And that's one of the reasons why I was looking at this set, because the obscure ones, the ones that people don't know, are the ones that are probably the ones they're looking for because they got discarded or whatever. Thanks for, I know you guys are having conversations, and thanks for being patient while I'm going through. I'm trying to do it all here, but yeah. And like I said, if you could like and share this out, that would be awesome. So you want to look for, okay, first editions, like I said. You want to look for who signed it. Is it the owner that signed it? Is the author that signed it? Or it did not anybody sign it? That's fine too. Who owned it? What's the story behind the book? Who owned this book? That could bring more value to it than the book itself. The one like I was talking about with Lloyd Wright with I'm sorry that I can look up her name. I've got it inside the book. I should have opened it and read it. But the fact that she's the woman that helped save the Zilwaukee Bridge, engineering wise, own that Great Testament book by Lloyd Wright, that really means a lot to me, just as a Michigander and everything. But Molly, hello, how you doing? Yes, you know what? I've been looking at a lot of Zane Grey's editions right now. I've got my eye on about 6 or 7 different books that I found locally, and I think I'm going to pull the trigger on that. I'm going to talk to Christine about it first, but I think that I'm going to look at it. They're worth a little bit of money. I think Zane Grey is one of the ones that I would be looking for. But like I said, anything that you're dealing with Dickens or with Mark Twain, anything like that, you're going to have, you can't go wrong with them. And you can enjoy them too. This one here was an interesting book. This is the one I showed you at the beginning. And again, I've got a pretty substantial library. These are just a couple books that I want to show you that are really not close to my heart, but they're interesting. They're really interesting. Standard Fairy Tales. There's no pictures in this book. And that's really kind of remarkable when it comes to this. You can see the water damage on this. So obviously it was in some type of flood. And I don't really care about that. It was more so, the spines were in good shape. It was, I think it said $20. I didn't get it for that. I got it for a lot less. But, but that's me. I'm a good shopper. But I still make sure it's a fair deal. I'm not going to take people for a ride. I don't like doing that either. I think that, like anything, you want to make sure that you take care of the people that you're purchasing from as well. There is one illustration. I apologize. I didn't realize that. This one, though, if I'm not mistaken, has a signature in it. I thought it did. Pretty sure it does. Let me see. Let me move back here. Yeah, it has an inscription. And this one is, it's cursive, but it says there's really interesting. I can't really make it all out. But it says July at the end of it. It says July 1887. So this book was, if it wasn't produced, it was produced before 1887, most likely. but it's been well loved. I mean, it's just great. It's got Cinderella, and I mean, and these are the original texts. These aren't the Disney's take on things. Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, Aladdin and the Wonder Lamp. Yeah, really some really Jack the Giant Killer, Jack and the Beanstalk. Yeah, just really cool. And then Cinderella, and I don't know what else they've got here. Let's see. Tom Thumb, Puss in Boots. How about that? And let's see. Yeah, so I mean, those are the ones that Little Red Riding Hood. So yeah, but it gives you an idea of what they were packing in a lot of these books over the years. Yeah, actually, it's funny, Eric, that you mentioned that. Uh, um, this is a really good book. If you guys haven't read it yet, I've got a copy. It's really, really good. Sorry, Eric. Just have to rub it in. Did you get it yet, Eric, by the way? I've been teasing Eric about this for a week. I don't know if you got it yet or not, but anyway, I had to have it ready in case you showed up, Eric. So welcome. But on the standard fairy tales and that, I mean, Grimm's fairy tales or whatever, I always look for books like this too. I also look for books that are of historical reference, not like, all due respect to Glenn's books, like The Murder of JFK or anything like that. But you guys will notice one of the larger books on my bookshelf behind me normally is Josephus's complete works. This is, I think, a culmination of probably the best. He was a Jew. Josephus Flavius was a Jewish historian when Jesus lived. And regardless of how you feel about the Bible or whatever else, I don't really take to that path. But um, the the thing about Josephus is that he documented that Jesus was alive at that time. First time that was ever documented in a historical setting. And this book, fascinating stuff about life back then and what from a Jewish historian, his perspective, just fascinating. Very, very well done. I picked this up. It's by Winston. They published it. I picked this up in Grand Rapids a few years ago, and just an awesome, awesome book. I don't know who Robert Poole is, but I'm glad he kept the book. You can see the spines worn, and this is one I'm not going to get rid of unless somebody really, really needed a copy of it and they're ready to, you know, part with it with some coin. But the illustrations are fantastic. And just the way it's been adapted, just a great piece of history, documenting history. So anything that you can find in this type of with Josephus, anything you can find with Josephus stuff is just dynamic. I do, I've talked to Glenn about this too. Hardbacks seem to be, just a hardback book for whatever reason just seems more substantial. And I know that as we're doing our books, creating our books, and that if you can afford to get a hardcover, do it. I mean, absolutely do it. One of the mid-century books that I would definitely recommend you looking into and searching for if you can find it. And again, this is not a biblical statement or anything else, but The Robe. That was this is the first edition by Douglas. I don't have the sleeve for this, the dust jacket, and I'm currently looking for one now. But anything like this in the 1950s or late 40s, when these were produced, keep an eye on these type of books, because they're gonna, as the generation starts passing in that, you're gonna be seeing a lot of these books that are hopefully in good shape come onto market. This one, like I said, this has been just an excellent book. But if you guys don't know it, it's a good story. It's an interesting story. They've got a movie about it. Movie was based on this book, so check that out. But anything like this in the mid-century, 1950s, and that The Robe that was made into a movie, keep an eye on those type of books. Those are always good too. And find books that you want to read. I mean, don't just do it for the sale of it. Hold on a second. Let me get out of this. Don't just do it for, fame and glory. Is that what you say, Eric? Isn't or something like that? He's always saying, "I do it for the fame and glory." Um, I don't know if there's really a certain way to collect anything, but I that's what I do. That's how I look for things in the marketplace. And you know what? It's the discovery of it is so cool. The discovery of all of it is just that's the fun stuff. That's what it's about. It's the hunt of it all. Going for it. It's like in a comic book store, and Pete knows, everybody here knows. You go into the dollar bins and you find Jack Kirby that you haven't seen in 30 years since you were a kid, and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's the excitement. That's what it's about. Car collecting, motorcycle collecting. You finding those bikes or those cars that were, in your youth that were just everything, and you find one in a barn that hasn't been turned over in 20 years or 30 years, you know. Um, Glenn, are you sure about that? Okay. Anyway, um, Josephus actually in the complete works, we're going to talk about that. Maybe we'll discuss that on Thursday's show. Josephus actually talks about Christ being walking and being a political activist. He talks about it. I'll read it to you. I'll read it to you on air if that'll help you. And we'll check it out. I could be wrong, but from everything that I've checked out with Josephus and the documentation, he is absolutely 100% the first person that documented Jesus, not in the Bible format. This is actually the living, breathing person. So, but we'll get into it later. But this isn't a debate show anyway, Glenn. Quit stirring the pot. You love stirring the pot. You Brits, you crack me up. Okay, I'm just reading this. Hold on a second. Eric says, I'm searched for a 68 Charger stolen in 73. I have the title. Was it your car that was stolen, or are you joking around? I mean, that stinks. And you know what? I don't care if you're a collector on any case, if you're a collector of Royal Dalton figurines. My mom was a huge fan of Royal Dalton figurines, and it cost a fortune for some of those pieces. And they get knocked over and broken. I mean, to what value? I mean, hopefully she insured them at some time in her life. But when you look at books and when you look at the technology that they are and how simple they are and how they've lasted, the generations that they've gone through, the wars that they've lasted, it's amazing that I have a collection that I do. And I'm blessed for it because I really, really, really do appreciate the technology that a book is, and that the history of these books. I mean, it's really a passion of mine. And the comic books are good too. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy my comic collection and that, but it's not the same as what it is with a hardbound book. The history, the lore, if you want to call it that, and the stories of it all. So when you're looking at it, make sure that does it have the dust jacket with it? Is it the first edition? Does it matter? No, it doesn't. But read it, enjoy it. That's nice, Eric. What are some of the books that you collect? Not you, Eric. I just read that. What kind of books have you guys collected over the years? Do you collect textbooks? I know people that collect old textbooks, which that's kind of mind blowing too. One of the ones I like, and this went for actually a lot of cash. Eric, you might enjoy this. Glenn, you might enjoy it too. It was a Encyclopedia Britannica set from 1963, and it was printed 2 months. I want to say the whole series was printed 2 months before JFK was assassinated. And they had to rewrite, I forget now, they had to rewrite 2 of the books, I think, because after the assassination happened. But I had the originals on that, and that was a find, let me tell you. I usually don't go into encyclopedias and all that stuff because it's all, you can type it out on your phone now. Why would you want to go through it? But it's interesting to see the way history is documented and everything else. But that was a really interesting find, and that was on a job site. That was actually given to me by the set was given to me by a client, and that was I didn't really want to take it, and then I started doing some research on it. I'm like, yeah, thank you, I appreciate that. So yeah, that was a really good find, and I'm glad that it went to. I think it went to a collection that they actually used it to show people comparison of how history is written and how Donna said this before. The victors are the ones that record history, right? So it's an interesting way that they're using it to teach people about the written documentation. If it isn't documented, it never happened, and that's the way a lot of the stuff. Unfortunately, sometimes it's not true. Sometimes it's documented and it still didn't happen. It's to the victors win. But yeah, so we've got. I think I covered everything on that. And then you got to decide whether you're keeping it or you're selling it. I mean, what is it to you guys? Well, how do you feel about the books? If you start getting emotional with them, it's like vehicles. You'll never sell them. And that's fine. And that's up to that's up to you as the collector or the reseller, the dealer. This week on From the Trenches of Hollywood, we're going to be talking about self-publishing on Friday. We're recording it later today. You guys we'll have to see who's going to be on there. You guys might recognize somebody. But Craig and I are going to be talking about self-publishing and the benefit of it versus normal traditional publishing. And I think it's great. I think it's going to be a really good venture into what a lot of us have chosen to do because I think it's probably the only way to publish now. So I'll make a statement of that. And then Drinking with the Davies, it's going to be a Valentine's celebration. We actually are going to have some guests, too, on the show. So check out what we're doing on Friday at 7 p.m. On Drinking with the Davies. So hopefully you got something out of this today. I hope that you guys look for some of the books. Maybe look for the ones that are on your shelf. See if it's something that might be of value. And, let me know. Leave it in the comments. And I would love to find out a little bit more about your collecting when it comes to books and that. So check out everything that we're doing this week on Ted Davies Artistry and do something good for somebody. Do something good in business and make it better for somebody. That's always a good thing. Turn them into clients and you'll be better for it. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great work week, guys, and read something.